I'm at someone's house, so
Oh, okay.
okay, ciao.
Ciao. See you. Okay, looks like we're live. Welcome, everybody. In the Zoom room chat, in the YouTube chat, you can now go to the um, Zoom room. You can click the link and it will take you into Zoom. Thanks for joining today, everybody. Most of you are probably not new to the channel. In case you are, in Dante Starshine, I channel Pleiadian Council. We are now doing this every week at this time. It might not be always happening every week, so enjoy it while it is. In this space, the Pleiadian Council, who are channeled in emotional consciousness, supports us with a transmission and by answering the questions that are brought into the group. You can ask questions on any topic that suit you, from personal questions to big picture questions, and they will answer them. So thanks again for being here. And before we begin, I would like to share with you just a little tour of the website. This is not the website. DanteStarshine.com. This is my website where you can find all of the information about my work and channeling sessions. And this is the place to go. Join the email list. If you join the email list, you'll be updated about every session that happens each week or every month. We go back to doing it monthly. And if you don't get the email right away, you should get an email with a link to some recording from the past because I need to update the welcome email. Anyway, if you don't get emails, check your spam folder and tell your email provider that it isn't spam because sometimes it gets marked as spam and it is not spam. And this is the contact and book a session page. And here you can go to Calendly on the contact/book a session page. And you can pick a time and day to book your channeling session with me. And you can pay for the channeling session through this part of the website down here. Um, and this is also working great for donations. I do these weekly sessions for donation. It is not free to work with Zoom or have a website or do any of the things. It takes a lot of time and energy, and channeling is a intense process that I love, but is also not always easy. So I appreciate your donating to support the cause and to support me continuing to do this. It's really big help, and the abundance is returned onto you 8,000 for more. Okay, so I think I'm going to begin, and I often go for an hour and a half, and today I don't think it will be as long. So we're going to cut it off early today. Um, and yeah. Hello, Nuse. Fantastic day to each and every one of you, and we thank you for connecting with us in this way. We are the Pleiadian Council, and we speak on behalf of the Galactic Alliance, supporting the world in the great process of awakening and ascension that is taking place. It is a gift and an honor to be able to establish connection with you, and we thank you for allowing this information and this energy to be shared with you as it supports the growth and evolution of both your world and our own world, as we learn as well through the reflections you offer to us, and for this we are deeply appreciative. Today, the transmission is entitled Future Timelines. And we cannot talk about future timelines without talking about the idea that time is splitting in all moments. You are always making decisions as individual beings. And while you make the choice that you witness and experience making, another version of you goes on in a different timeline, carrying out a different decision and different actions that lead to different consequences. This coexisting soul exists in its own parallel reality, yet there is still some connection between you and these other versions of yourself. Now, this happens at an individual level, but it also happens at a collective level. While as a collective, the bigger decisions that your groups of people and governments and leaders make, and of course, masses of groups of individuals who shift their consciousness to go in different directions, also create splits in collective timelines, in which there are different future versions of your Earth that look drastically varied from each other, for better and for worse. So we cannot tell you the future. When you ask us about the future, we tell you about the most probable outcome that is indicated according to the present energies. And most of the time, when we tell you about the present energies, it informs you in such a way that you make changes with your energy and with your lives, and so that you go off on a different pathway and make a different decision that leads to a different outcome. So predictions in the sense can be very flawed. And as we talk about the future, we have to indicate the many different possible outcomes that may come to pass. Now, we'll talk about the future that many of you, if not most of you, who encounter these sorts of transmissions are headed towards. And this is the future we've spoken to about as ascension, as open contact, as grand and great shifts upon your planet. Yet, even with this timeline of ascension and open contact, there is a window of some years in which your world is in a state of conflict. The conflict that takes place now in your world is not something new. It is simply something that is surfacing again. The conflict that you see today in your world has been ongoing for quite some time. And even in this timeline of open contact and ascension, you will be seeing many challenges in the next year or so. In the timeline of open contact and ascension, when you look back upon these events, it could be called in reference from the future, describing the past as the Third World War. It will never be declared that this series of conflicts that involved many different nations was really the Third World War as it takes place. Though when you finally reach that point of peace, of integration, you will recognize that that is exactly what has happened. Now, this timeline of your planet does involve many important shifts taking place within the human population. And it is most important that humans recognize that they are powerful and that they are being led to make decisions and take actions that go against themselves. The media and the governments are deceiving you and they are concealing the truth. All of you have roles to play. For many of you, this is simply the role of spreading information about healing and healing yourselves. This, in and of itself, is a rebellious act in a world that teaches you that so many things need to be done to your bodies to make you healthy that actually harm you. In a world where foods are toxic, in a world where lifestyles are either too stressful or too strenuous to be sustainable for your bodies, to choose health is a vastly powerful act. And this, in and of itself, is part of creating this timeline. There are many other aspects of this as well that involve being informed as to the many areas that media and governments and celebrities and those who attempt to control the stories that you are told are lying and deceiving you. In ancient and tribal cultures, the shaman was also a storyteller. And those who held spiritual significance in communities were the ones who kept the stories of the ancestors alive. By and large, you've erased so many of the storytellers from your world. And now you have lie tellers. They tell you the lies that keep you in line. And to break free from this means that you tell new stories. And this is why art and creative expression are some of the most powerful ways of contributing to this new timeline. Many of you will be inspired to act, will be inspired to advocate, though what we want to make very clear to you is that by choosing this timeline of open contact and ascension, it requires active participation. And all that it essentially requires is that you follow the formula of acting on your own highest passion. And we know that deep in all of your hearts, there is the best interest of yourself and others at the core. And when you let this guide you in your own personal lives, this will be your future outcome. Now, we talk about other potential future outcomes because we want to let you know that these potentials exist. And it is not that you have the danger of going to them. It is very likely that if you tap into higher frequencies of energy, your soul is already on a trajectory, quite literally, to head towards these higher versions of your Earth future. Yes, there are other souls who coexist with you on the Earth plane right now who choose different Earth future timelines. And they are choosing instead a life of accepting and submitting to the lies they are being told. They're choosing instead a life of allowing for the corporate leaders and government leaders and media leaders to tell them a story of how they are supposed to fit into place as individuals living their lives in your world. In some of these future timelines, open contact is not allowed to happen. It is even true now that your governments are blocking certain levels of the information from coming open to the public. Yet, still it remains a fact that if you choose to tap into your own telepathic connection with extraterrestrial consciousness, and you gaze upon the night sky and you connect with this consciousness, it will appear before you and it will present information and energy to you. And yet, in some of these future timelines, yes, your world stays in a deadlock and it follows a more negative trajectory that leads to increasing control through many fascist governments who impose a greater and greater state of isolation onto the public. There are even some timelines that lead to nuclear war, though again through the agreements that you are making at a soul level with the Galactic Alliance, this is innately prevented, because in order to stay in accordance with our agreements, no such acts can actually be perpetrated in your world. And so by staying closely attuned to these higher frequencies and letting them guide you, you assure that that is your own timeline. And we have said, and we will elaborate now, that other souls may coexist with you in the present moment on this earth plane, yet choose a different timeline for themselves. And some of you have heard things like this before. You may have heard that not all souls will come with you to the ascended earth. And some of you have conceived of this to mean something like what some religious groups in your world mean as a rapture, as souls that are left behind to burn and suffer. And this is not true. Though we say that these souls don't come to the higher dimensional earth, however, the people, the individuals do. And we want to explain this notion of an in-body reincarnation. This is something that happens to some of you. When a soul goes through such an immense level of trauma in their incarnation that it becomes impossible to really heal and integrate the past, but there still exists a possibility of a different soul with a different sort of mind stepping into the body. And this process might accelerate the soul's development and healing. Sometimes this in-body reincarnation takes place. Sometimes this in-body reincarnation is so powerful that it creates a great sense of amnesia, that that person can no longer remember their past in the same way, because that past was experienced through a different soul than the soul that has stepped into the body and incarnated into the body. And so when other beings have said that on the ascended earth, not all souls will make it, what they really mean is that there will be a sort of mass reincarnation, that those souls who have not done the energetic work to be on the leading edge that is propelling your planet's vibration into higher octaves, high enough that you actually complete ascension and open contact. The souls who are, in a sense, the energetic dead weight have to be recycled. So they will have massive levels of in-body reincarnation. This will happen because there will be such great vibrational shifts on your planet as things like open contact take place, as things like the dissolution of world borders and world governments take place, as things such as the creation of better welfare systems and economic systems in the world take place in a rapid sort of fashion. It will be such a shock to those souls who vibrate on a lower dimensional level that they won't actually be able to process and assimilate the new energy and information. So their souls will have to reincarnate. They will have to bring about a new higher dimensional soul into their body. And it will bring about a sort of sudden amnesia of many of the things that they experienced in the past and the people they were before. So as ascension takes place, you will see that many souls are in a great state of resistance up until one day they suddenly assimilate this information, not because they actually came to understand it, but because a new soul is stepping into their body to allow the human to be able to access this new information and energy. And the benefit, instead of being an active participant in the process of ascension and choosing to raise your vibration, choosing to follow the formula, choosing to do acts of love and kindness that support your planet's growth, is that you will be able to assimilate into this energy in a much easier way, that you will be able to understand every step of the process, and you will feel the energetic shifts taking place on the collective level at the very core of your cells. You will be so actively engaged with your heart in this process that it will be no surprise to you when certain big events and open contact events take place. You will have foreseen it, you will have felt it coming, and you will have co-created it. Whereas many other souls will have to go through a sort of vast and intense transformation in order to assimilate this energy. So we thank you for allowing us to share this message with you, and we hope that this informs you a bit as to the potential of many different futures. And now we will say as well that these souls who have the potential to choose different timelines exist and share a space with you. And some beings will go off onto a different sort of earth plane, while you will experience a version of them that experiences a different choice, a different potentiality. It is important to know that all of these different earth planes and earth futures exist. Remember that the grays come from a future version of Earth, and they've come into this version of your Earth so as to open the window for you to pick a different timeline. And even though all of that has taken place, there are timelines of Earth that nonetheless do not choose ascension, even from this point moving forward. That is not the version of Earth you are on, but it seems very chaotic on your Earth because you still nonetheless share space with other souls who are choosing that level of density. So our unconditional love to you, and we thank you, and we ask, how can we be of support today with your questions, with your comments, your sharings, whenever you wish.
Yeah, shit, that's about a
Any questions? Yeah.
Hello, I'm not sure if you can hear me because I have some background noise here.
We can hear you, certainly.
Okay, let me just, this is a great coincidence. The topic you're talking about is very much on my mind recently. As it happens, I'm just reading a book, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which is bringing timelines into the mainstream consciousness. And I just saw last night Back to the Future. These are a couple of media things with the alternate timelines. Are these kind of these media things, are they deliberately getting people used to the idea of timelines?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. I wanted to ask about unborn children, because in other timelines, our unborn children, like stillborn or aborted children, will, in other timelines, they will have lived. And I wondered to what extent they influence us in our present day.
They have a bit of influence on you. There can be a sort of karmic imprint that is left over in the case of abortions. And many underestimate this energy. They simply choose to move on and not process the loss. Though, when a proper ceremony of grieving and wishing the soul off well to their next incarnation and their next return to source will absolutely assist in this process. Once you have done this, these souls don't really have a negative influence on you, so to speak. Though you can connect with them as allies, as friends. Often, some people will have the support of their unborn sibling. However, until they become conscious of the fact that unborn siblings can energetically involve themselves, these energies might instead be more disturbing than they are helpful. So you must call in and welcome that soul and invite them to be grieved and returned onto the source. We will take one step back to your previous question. We want to clarify that oftentimes there are fiction writers and movie writers that are not even fully aware of the multidimensional information they are channeling. Your creativity opens this channel to multidimensional information, to other timelines, other sorts of realities that express through your creations. So it just so happens that incidentally at times, Source uses artists and writers to allow you to be introduced to multidimensional ideas and information.
Thank you very much. That's very clear. The reason the topic came to me is that a psychic said that there are unborn children in my case who are assisting me and my family. And I thought,
Yes.
wow, well, that makes sense. So are you able to confirm that? Can you see them or
Yes.
be aware of them?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. I missed most of the transmission, but I got in at the end of it here. There's references to timelines and dimensions. Are they one and the same, or is there a definitive difference between the two?
Well, a timeline is a plane of existence. You are on Earth, though you exist on a particular timeline of Earth.
Okay.
And all of Earth has many timelines. There's literally an infinite amount of timelines. A dimension is something a bit different. Dimensions are realms of physics. So you exist in a fourth dimensional reality, as in you experience 3 dimensions of space, and you experience a 4th dimension of time. And by awakening to this 5th dimensional energy, you go beyond the confines of time to the infinite. And this is part of how you can then come into contact with an awareness of splitting timelines and alternate timelines. Yet there are dimensions even further beyond this. And these dimensions operate in such a different way. They are not even physical. So there are dimensions that are beyond the physical. And so a timeline is a different version of something that exists within this specific physical dimension. Yet, when you go to certain dimensions that are beyond the physical, things work in very different ways. There are still experiences and manifestations and objects and subjects and so on and so forth in these higher dimensions. Yet, outside of the framework of time, energy expresses itself in completely different ways. Beings like ourselves exist in these dimensions. We are quasi-physical, and that means we exist outside of the constructs and limitations of time and space. Yet we are able to connect with beings that exist within your dimension of time and space.
Okay. All right. Now, one more is, are there timelines within dimensions?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That makes some sense. I have one more question, not quite related to that. Is it safe to say, or not safe, but would it be accurate to say that everything occurring on the planet Earth at this time is in a divine order, as in the creator of all that is has a plan that we are not, I don't want to say privy, because some people are privy, I guess, but is it safe to say that everything is in divine order and it's all going to work its way out into a better, or what's better for some is not better for others, so that's a difficult wording, into a reality here on this plane that would be beneficial to everyone through all this chaos?
There is order in the chaos. There is a sense of divine
Right.
order. So
Right.
will it all work out? Well, on some timelines, it will. And that is a bit of what we said in the beginning, is that by connecting with multidimensional reality and beings like ourselves and applying this message of allowing your heart's excitement to guide you to act in ways that spreads the energy of unconditional love on your earth plane, you are directly aligning vibrationally with the ascended earth timeline in which things do work out. And that isn't to say there isn't also aspects of chaos on that timeline, because the seeds of chaos have been sown long ago on your planet and they need to work themselves out. But yes, that timeline does exist. But also other timelines do exist as well. And the thing about Source is, well, Source created all of it. Source created this dimension, and Source created many other dimensions and planes where there is even greater chaos and negative energy. And souls are given the opportunity to incarnate into these varied realms of existence to have contrasting experiences. These experiences, while they may not always be positive, help the soul to develop their awareness and their understanding of reality and of incarnation, so as to make better soul choices in future incarnations. So in that sense, that over multiple incarnations, everything works out, this is true. But that does not mean every incarnation is a joyride. That isn't even a fact on your planet, where some people experience now today what you would consider hell-like suffering while on Earth.
Right. Well, it'd be kind of boring if everything was just perfect and right. I mean, I see it like
Yes.
that. I need
Yes, and
so
souls
and it
have difficult experiences so that they can appreciate and fully take in the positive experiences that they have, sometimes within the same incarnation and sometimes in the next incarnation.
Right. Okay, so that actually makes a whole lot of sense then. And then it just, like I said, like you're talking about the souls and the even the unborn souls are influencing us. I've always felt that when it comes to intimacies, it's very important to be choosy. And I saw something the other day that it kind of confirmed that, but it seemed pretty drastic. But that, for example, I'm a woman, and I have relations with a man, and he expresses his seeds into me, that somehow at some level there is a change in DNA, or the DNA within me can change due to that, his DNA coming into me. This
Yes.
is okay. So this DNA, like if somebody has an abortion or something, they're already carrying the DNA of the unborn child, right?
Yes.
And,
Yes,
and
exactly.
somehow that's presented forth from within us in a
Yes.
way. Like that's amazing. I mean, that's really, when you stop to think about that, that's really an amazing concept to ponder, because there's a lot of that going on, and there's and all this chaos that we're experiencing. Like I see that good for most people. I mean, there's a lot of people, again, I'm one of those weirdos that thinks, death isn't a bad thing. Getting there might be, but being dead is not, at least from my experience, it's not the worst thing. And that this chaos that we're experiencing is brought on by so many of these different things people are doing that they have no idea that's occurring. I mean, like, it's kind of like the blind leading the blind in a sense. And then there's pockets of people like us that have this expanded perception, I suppose would be a good way to put it. That is, I don't know if it's helping, but it brings some kind of calm to the chaos without denying the chaos is happening. I don't know what I'm saying, but you might.
It's bringing order to the chaos, because order comes when you understand something for what it is. Order comes when you understand the purpose and the mechanics of the events taking place in the world around you. And while they are very complex situations, you can understand them at their core. That
Right.
there are events of mass manipulation taking place because of the fear of those individuals you call elite. Some of you consider the elite to be extremely privileged or lucky, though at a spiritual level, they are the poorest individuals in the world. And this is what we want you to understand, is that it is their immense level of fear of loss of control, their fear of insignificance, their fear of loss of individual agency that causes them to seek power so ceaselessly. And everything happening in your world that oppresses individuals and robs them of their health and well-being happens because of this spiritual poverty that the elite live with. It is their own lack of love and compassion and connection to source that causes them to attempt to compensate with power. But power is no source of compensation. And so you say that you are simply observing, though we want to say that you're doing more of that, because by understanding what's taking place and understanding it in a deep way, you come to live in a different way. You come to live, as we say, based in your heart, and based upon that principle of acting on your passion and bringing about the sorts of energies and acts of love and kindness that you would want to see in the world. And by doing this, you are literally changing the world. And at the level of physics, you are directing yourself as a soul and other souls in the trajectory of that positive timeline of ascension. Though in order to understand the positivity, it's helpful that you understand the negative energy for what it is. For through contrast, you are able to most clearly understand and ascertain what is positive energy. and what is the power that my love really has.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, that makes all the sense. So, yeah, I've never seen the elite of any but with of anything of power. I see them as low vibrational energy, trying to control higher vibrational energy. And I feel like that's why there's the conflicts, because that it's like oil and water kind of. You really got to shake it up in order for it to blend. And that shaking of the oil and water, I see that's what's going on now with the wars and stuff. Like that's the chaos and all the other stuff. And the order is going to come out when the dressing's all back together, because once you shake it up, it kind of blends together and everything seems to correlate nicely. Anyway, that's just the little thing I have in my head about this. I thank you so much for bringing clarity to
it. And this is a perfect metaphor as well, shaking the oil in the water, as this is why it is so important sometimes to rest. Part of why they, as in the elite and the world they've created, is based upon keeping you so busy, is because by always being busy, you will always be shaken up. And when you are always shaken up, it is very difficult to understand that two things are distinct and don't blend. So it is that time to rest. It is that time that you allow the oil and the water to settle that allows you to see and understand the distinction between where one thing begins and another thing begins. All right, so we thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Cadence.
Hello.
Hello, Dante. So, thinking about what you just said, that meanwhile the economy will continue to be collapsing. The only way to survive would be to choose the healthy way. So to cultivate good food and to not take part of the capitalism, or because seems things seems to look like to being more and more complicated, maybe during the 3 or 4 years ahead. What you think about
There
that?
will always be ways to get by. So don't equate economy with well-being. That is what the elite want you to believe. They want you to see things that bolster the economy at the expense of humans as acceptable, because if your economy isn't flowing, then you might die. And that is so far from true. So have faith. You're fine now, and you will continue to be fine. You'll continue to be fine because your needs are not defined simply by money. There will be ways to meet your needs. There will be ways to get food. And yes, certainly, cultivating your own food or developing relations with those who do is a great thing to do in your future and in the present. Though not all of you are able to do that. So trust that everything is going to keep coming, as it will. There will simply be some bumps on the road, yes?
Thank you. I have another subject, but I don't think it's a high vibration subject, so you will say. We were talking about the elites, and I have heard that the French president has been trafficking kind of child. That's why he became so much negative. So I don't know if you want to talk about.
It is true that many of your elite world leaders are involved in child trafficking rings.
Yes, but they have been victims themselves.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes that is the way that it is normalized for them as young people that they could later go on and live on to do such things to others. That is very true of abuse in general, that victims later become perpetrators if their trauma is not given the space to heal. And so many of the elite and the world leaders that enact such great acts of violence in your world have experienced similar forms of abuse. And the same institutions they now serve have abused them so that they would be capable of doing such horrible acts.
But first of all, if the society hadn't protected children like they used to be, the first responsible it's the society for not protecting those elite child.
Is it?
It's a question.
Is society responsible?
Yes, because I don't know. Yes, because children
But who
have
makes up society but individuals? All individuals are choosing their own trajectories and making their own choices in the moment. So society is composed up of many people doing their own thing. And that is where you have the power, and that is what you're responsible for, your own actions. You can influence others, but you cannot claim or demand for shifts to happen without making the shift yourself.
Okay. I have a quick question, quickly. I am trying to move
We don't have
from...
as much time today.
Okay.
We'll try to make it
Okay.
very fast.
Okay, there is some question in the chat. Do you want me to read?
Whatever you prefer.
What?
Whatever
Okay.
you prefer.
Okay. Aaron says, because we don't have much time, Aaron says, hi, thank you all for answering my question. Oh, sorry. He has a question. In my dreams, I often take written exams in a classroom. This time I felt unprepared for the test. Point. What is it about? Question mark. Do you understand what I am saying?
Yes.
Okay, I proceed with the rest.
This
Even though I actually graduate from university, I often dream about taking exam at university again and again. In most dream, I felt like the exam is difficult or unprepared. Point. What does it mean? Question mark. How can I stop having this dream? Question mark.
there's some level of pressure that you experienced in your studies that you haven't let go of. This pressure that you were under to complete your studies and do it well left a sort of ongoing aspect of your mind or your psyche that is constantly seeing everything as a test and judging yourself based upon how you do in that test. This pressure you've never let go of. This sense of forever trying to be the best you haven't let go of. So it would be wise to consider in your life in which ways do you still view the events of your life as a test or an exam? And if you failed that test or exam, what would the consequence be? Your individualist society places unnecessary emphasis on your success and your failure. In a more collectivist world, failure is not such a bad thing. Individual failure is impossible to avoid. But when you live with a collectivist mindset, it does not matter if an individual fails, because that individual will be upheld by the collective. While your governments perpetuate individualist ideologies, the state of reality is collectivist. And you are all in it together. And when you live through the values of the deepest heart of hearts, you will be supported because there is love and there is deep unconditional love within you. And by understanding that this deep unconditional love is intrinsic to this reality and is your very nature, you will be able to be supported by this unconditional love, whether you succeed or whether you fail, and when you succeed and when you fail. And you will be able to unconditionally love yourself, whether you succeed or whether you fail. Integrating this understanding will help relieve yourself of these dreams. Going back and doing regression work to some of the challenging or traumatic moments during your years of being a student will also help relieve some of the stress as well. These dreams are guiding you to learn to not view life as a competition and as a test, and to accept that doing your best is always going to be doing enough. It's all you need to do.
Hello, Pleiadians.
Hello.
I have a question, only one question.
All right.
I'm curious, have I been in third density before? Have I done this already?
Have you been where before?
In third density before? Have I done this already? Because sometimes I feel that life is very challenging. I don't know.
You have incarnated on Earth before. You've incarnated into greater challenges before. Yes.
But did I pass them? So, I mean,
Yes.
so sometimes I've heard that we've done this before, and then I came to source already, and then I decided to, well, okay, to experience again this experience here on air, trying to like pass it again, remember to come to source, to home again. Is it true? I don't know.
Souls will come back. Souls come back to learn more lessons and to grow and to experience the liberation that comes from moving into a dense state and into a free state. Life is not meant to be totally easy. If as a soul you desired an incarnation that was completely easy, you would have not come to the earth plane. You would have come into a higher dimensional plane. And coming to this plane has its specific merits. Part of coming to the earth plane is coming to learn about suffering. Yet suffering becomes a gift leading you into greater compassion if you allow it to be. To be able to cultivate compassion for your own suffering and not resist the pain that you experience allows your heart to open to the unconditional love that is your intrinsic nature. This unconditional love exists in the heart of every being in this realm. This unconditional love is who you are, and it is source. And the lesson of Earth Plane is to go through that suffering so that you may break through and tap into that deep unconditional love and live as that unconditional love. this will help you to extend the same love to all other beings and to be a lighthouse of love and broadcast this energy to the world around you. And as more suffering affects you, you will then simply be able to tap into greater love and to expand that love and to share that love and to be that love.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Much love to you.
Oh, I love to you as well. But can you accept that? Can you understand that?
Yeah, I can understand and I can accept it. Yeah, and I actually heard that you have to accept it just the way it is. So you make it better. You create a better version of it until, yeah. I've heard it from the Arthurians. Yeah.
You must accept all that you experience and all others experience, because Source has already accepted it, remember. If anything was unacceptable to Source or God, it would not be happening. And remembering this allows you to surrender more, to accept more, and to have that deep compassion that comes only through this acceptance and this non-resistance.
Yes, indeed. Surrender, and accept it. Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much.
Our unconditional love to you as well. And our unconditional love to all of you for co-creating this transmission, for being here today, for being a part of your Earth's ascension, and being a part of these massive changes, and being a part of the open contact program by taking in our energy and allowing this influence your lives by remaining attuned to this energy of unconditional love. It is far more powerful and important than many of you realize. So please continue. Allow unconditional love to guide you. Allow your spiritual hearts to open to the true essence of your nature, and allow this energy to carry with you into your world. Because as the suffering in your world increases, there need be only more and more love. More and more love is the way to break forward and through. As the suffering on your planet will increase until there is a high enough threshold of those souls who have surrendered to their unconditionally loving nature. And this inner nature will carry you as individuals and as a collective together into a liberated, ascended Earth plane. Our unconditional love to you once again, and a fantastic day to all of you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dante.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
Thank you, Dante.
Yeah. Are you going to chat for a minute, or are you off and running?
I have a session that is cutting this short. They spontaneously booked the session at the time that it is now. So today we had
No
to move it a little.
No accidents, no coincidences, right?
I know it's all happening for a reason, though. I'm sorry if we didn't get to all of your questions today.
I looked in the chat. I didn't. Aaron's was the only one, and I think that other lady asked it. So
I had a question, but I'll next week.
Okay. Aw.
Yeah. Thank you, Dante.
all right. Well, good to see you, Dante.
You're
I'm loving it
welcome.
here in Guatemala, by the way.
Oh yeah, how's it going?
It's great. I mean, the weather's beautiful. That's the whole thing, man. I couldn't do the heat anymore on the beach. Couldn't just, yeah. So I, again, having to go back to the States and go there in wintertime, all freaked out because it was cold, and then coming back here. I don't know, man. But it's funny about that. I asked about the oil and vinegar. I felt like that when I first got here because things were so chaotic in the States. And it's taken me 3 months. It's taken me 3 months to settle, to let all that, and now it's falling into place. So it just was just, anyway, it's good to see you. I wish I could give you a great big hug. I miss you. I know.
Lovely.
Anyway, I'll let you. I'm gonna go. I got stuff to do
Okay.
too. So nice
Yeah,
to meet you,
yeah,
Monica.
everybody.
You're
So
lovely. Very lovely.
good to see everybody. And one more reminder of the website, dantestarshine.com. Sign up for the email list on the front page. You can book a session here and donate to the live stream, just any of these links or the Stripe thing. And yeah, the email list is on the front page, and that will allow you to be informed about when I'm going live and other updates and magical things that are happening. And as well, there's the channeling and healing course, intuitive healing course. And that happens once a year about, and it's signing up for its next incarnation. So if you would like to join, send me a message and you can send in your application and we can talk about it, what's involved. It's a deep dive process of both learning the channel and going through an inner transmutation process of learning how to work with your own beliefs, your own parts and traumas and integrate them so that you can be a clearer vessel to help others in their own awakening and healing journey. It is a really deep program that takes you through a lot, and it's about like a 90 minutes to 2 hour call every week, but also an hour of content to watch and daily practices to do. So it's for those who are really committed to the journey, as it brings about really big changes and shifts for those who participate. So I'm here for you to support this transformation in these crazy and immensely powerful times that we live upon. From my heart to yours, all of the love, and I look forward to seeing you next week. I'm considering that I know that for people in as this happens on weekdays, that it could be nice to do a transmission that's in the evening for those in the States, because not everyone can make it. A lot of people in Europe are able to make it because this is the evening time. So I might switch up the times next week. And if you're on the email list, you'll be in the know about that. So, yeah, okay, I'll see you guys later.